Hey guys, so today we're going to be working at this project from Frontend Mentor, which is building this type of card, a summary, order summary, and it's a card of payment to proceed to the payment page. We are going to build this and we are going to see the HTML part, the CSS part, all of it. Let's go. Okay, so to start, we're going to be in the first page right here in the main page of the exercise, and we're going to click Visit Challenge Hub. Here in the Challenge Hub, we're going to download the starter file so we can start the problem, see the basics of the problem in the VS Code, which the site itself will give to us. Once we downloaded the file, we can open it and extract to the same paste or whatever you want to extract. So this is the main file where we're going to open in VS Code. So here in VS Code, we can do File, Open Folder, or we can click directly here, Open Folder, and let's select. So here it is. Just click, select, paste, and here we have the whole project, or at least what the website gives to us. So here what really matters at first is the index.html. So here we have like a little bit of code. Here we can see some information in the body, and if we go back to the same folder and we open the folder that we extracted before, and we open index in your navigator, you will see that it's like all ugly and without formatting, any design and nothing. So we want to build like something like this. So we have the same info if you take a look, but in the ugly way, let's say. So I used some division of the screen here so we can see in real time what we change in the code and what we see in the website. So here, whatever we change here in the code, if we refresh the page, it will change here as well. Here, important thing, in the style guide.md, we have a little bit of the style that it's supposed to be in the final product, in the final card. And here we have some info about colors and dimension, but we have in the end here the font family that we want to use, or that they use it in the main project. Okay, if we hold Ctrl and click in this link, we will be redirected to this page of Google Fonts. So here to start, we are going to add all the different font weights, okay, light, regular, medium, and bold, and we just have to click in here in this plus sign, select light 300. So select all of them, so we can use all the styles in our code. You can see right here the different styles, and here use on the web. Okay, we are going to select import, and here we have a code for style, which is the same style that we used in the CSS form. And here we have the rules to use in a class, for example. If you want to use a class and use this class in an HTML div or form, we can use this way. So first, let's import our font. Okay, so let's copy this part. We don't have to copy the style because in VS Code we already have this. So let's copy this here, import info. Okay, open VS Code again, and here in the style, okay, we can copy right after this attribution A, we can copy the code for importing the font that the website indicates for us. After copying, we can right away create a class for using this font and applying the class and the style of the font in the HTML form. Okay, so let's do, for example, .font, open the brackets, and let's copy the rules, okay, to specify the font family, which is right below the style. Okay, let's copy and paste inside of the class or the CSS style we just created. So I would say like the most important thing that we had to import from the project and the style guide they gave to us is the font. This is something that it's great if we keep in the same line as proposed, but now I think you can use your imagination and creativity to reproduce this card, okay? But you can use other colors if you want to do exactly like they show in here. It's fine as well, but let's use a little bit of creativity to make this, okay? What's really important is to understand the path and the way that those things and the images and buttons and formatting the text, I think this is the most important part, okay? So keep in mind that this right here will be all of our styles that we create in CSS. If you want as well, you can just take off this style tab and just create another file.css and put all the styles that you use to the whole project in this file, so we don't like have a lot of text and get lost. So since Frontend Mentor gave this file to us, I'm going to keep this style inside of the same file of the HTML stuff. So let's start. First, I'm going to just erase these things right here. After in the project, we are going to write them in the same way that it is in the card, but we just copy from this example. So as you can see, since I erase it from the body, all the info, if I save and refresh the page, all of the text just disappeared. So let's start building our card now. So first of all, what will be interesting to create first in here? So the background, you can see that they used like kind of a wavy texture. And what's curious about this is if we come to the file here in VS Code and open this images folder, we have a lot of the images they used in the card. If we actually take a look, this is the same files and folders that we have in the same folder that we downloaded from the site. So here, if we go to the folder of the problem and open images, we have all those 5 images that we had in the VS Code. And then you can open in our Firefox, Google Chrome, whatever, the image, so you can see what every image represents. So the background, which is this one for desktop, we won't use. I'm going to use another background. The illustration hero, which is this girl kind of enjoying her song, we are going to use. And this icon of the music we are going to use as well. So first of all, let's search for a background. So let's open up Google right here, and let's search for, I don't know, black background. Okay, let's go to Google Images. Let's put a big size of a background, and let's take this background of a kind of a sand, and we can copy the image link, and let's save the image link for now. Right here below our body, just so we have this link saved before we do the structuring to use this image as background. Okay, now that we have the link of some image to use as background, we are going to create our first class on CSS, okay, for using and kind of styling our background. Okay, so let's open a tag. It can be directly to the point, like background. Now let's link directly to our URL. So background, image, and then URL. Here we can do single slash, and then we copy the URL of our image that we took from Google Images. Okay, just print in here. Let's close, and then let's set a size. Okay, so background size. Here we have to give a specific type of size, so let's do cover. Okay, so it covers the whole background. Okay, let's save. We can erase this URL from here, and then where should we use this class? We can use inside the body. We can create a div right after the body and use the background on this div, but I would prefer to create the class directly inside of our body tag. So let's go to the live website and let's refresh the page, and here we can see that our image is being used as background. The only problem here is that the image is repeating itself when the height of the image ends, you know. So we can use here another tag, background repeat, and then we set this to no repeat. Well, now we have only one background, but we have another problem, which is this big white square rectangle right below our image. So how can we fix this? We have to set the height of this image so it fits regardless of the size of the monitor and whatever. So let's open another characteristic here, height. So let's say 100%. And when we refresh, you can see that nothing changed. How can we change this? We can use, instead of percentage, we can use the command VH. The command VH runs for viewport length. So it's basically the length of the image that the user is seeing on his screen. If we are seeing this piece of the website, this command will basically try to fit the image in this piece of website that I'm seeing right now. So if we save and refresh, there we have it. If I can like make it bigger or make it smaller, it will always be filled by the background. Now the next thing we want to build is the inside rectangle where we will actually build our card. First, let's create a div right below this our body, and this will be kind of our main div, okay, where everything inside of the card will be inside this div, because I think everyone agrees that every item and image that we are going to put inside this card is inside of this rectangle that we are creating right now. So we have to create a new style for just put together only the rectangle. So let's create rectangle. With our class created, we can now set the height and width of our rectangle. Okay, so height, let's say 300 pixels, and width, let's say 150. Let's close here, pixels, and nothing happens. Let's say 300 and 150. Let's create inside of our main div the class rectangle, and now let's refresh our page. Okay, so now we can see that we kind of had some change in here. Our div that before was on top of the page, now it's in the middle. So our the div of the rectangle is before this message. So we can conclude that probably the rectangle is right on top of this text. So let's give a color for this rectangle, a background color. So let's give a color, let's say white for now. I can do like hash FFF, which is white, and then we can change, but for now the problem wants us to have a white background. So now let's save and refresh again, and here we have our rectangle. Just by looking now, I can see that the width is too small, so let's get this width a little bit up. Now we have like a rectangle kind of more likely to this one that they want us to demonstrate. The next step is align this rectangle to the center of our page. How can we do this? We can create a display flex, justify content, and align items, and use this in our body. And then our rectangle should be in the center. So let's open a new class here, can be like display. So display flex, justify content, center, and align items also to the center. And then we can attribute this display class to the body, okay, with our background class as well. And now if we save and refresh, we have like all the things in the center. What's bothering us here is this text, which is this last div that the front-end mentor already gave to us with the original project. So we just erase this for now. Okay, we don't need it, save, and our rectangle is in the center. Okay, the next step, I would say, it's to give this roundness on the corners of our rectangle. This is pretty easy. We just come here in the rectangle class. This is the good thing about working with classes. We can just go back to the class, change something, and all of our rectangles that is affiliated to that class will change as well at the same time. Now here we can use border radius to give this smoothness and this curve in the corners. So border radius, and let's give let's say 20 pixels for border. Now let's refresh, and there you have it. I think it's pretty good. Let's give 15. So it looks pretty cool. Let's just increase a little bit the height and the width, so it will fill our background a little more. Let's say to this, just reduce a little bit of the width. So this is pretty good. It's very alike to this card right here. So let's go to the next step, which is this first image. Okay, we are going to keep following the sequence of the things that appear from top to bottom of our card. So let's go to the image, then the title, then this paragraph, then this division right here, then these two buttons. So let's go to the image. Since every element that we are going to build right now are inside of this main rectangle, we are going to use like this div of the rectangle as our main div. Okay, everything that we are going to do next are going to be inside of this main div. So let's start with this image. So let's create another div inside of our main, and now we just have to import the image that is on top. So we know that the image that we are looking for on top here is this illustration hero.svg. If we open up the tab, it will be a gigantic code here, which we don't have to copy on all of this code to use. We just have to right click and copy relative path, which is the path of the image inside of our computer. So let's begin here with the tab image, src for source. Okay, let's paste our path, which is in our computer. If I can copy as well the whole path, which will be bigger, okay, but I can copy the relative path, will work the same way. So now let's just give a name in case of the image don't appear in some computer. Now let's refresh, and then we have our image, but of course in the wrong position, the wrong size. Okay, so let's give first the size. Okay, I can give like height, let's say 100%. I'm mixing CSS with HTML code here, but it's okay. Let's give width to 100% as well. Since we are working inside of our main div, which is the rectangle, if we say to this div that is inside to keep the height and the width to 100%, it should fit inside of our rectangle, which is the main div that we are working. So if we save and reload, there we have it. It's like inside of our main div, our rectangle. And now we just have to give the rounded corners right here. There are some ways to do this, but for me the easiest way is just to create a class and give the same characteristic, the border radius, to both of the top left and top right border of our image. So let's create this class right here. I can call the class, I don't know, hero image. And now let's use border top left radius, and let's say the same amount, 15 pixels, and use the other border top right radius, okay, to 15 pixels as well. Let's save, and let's attribute this class to our image. Let's go to the end, class equals to this right here. Let's close our image, and when we refresh, there we have it, the rounded corners. This is looking pretty good so far. Now let's jump to the text. Okay, so for our title, let's call it the first heading, okay, H1. We have order summary, so let's create the first text, which will be called H1. Always remember to keep inside of our main div. So we are inside of the properties of this rectangle, inside of the rectangle, okay? So let's write right away order summary. If we go to our project and refresh, we have the title, but it's just a little ugly, right? Now let's apply some style to our text, which is not formatted yet. So let's create for now like title align, open this class, and let's say text align to the center. So if we come to the H1 and put the class, title align, refresh, now our title is in the middle. We can like do another style directly in the H1, but since in this project we just have one title, I'm going to keep inside of this class the font itself as well, okay, the red hat display inside of the title align class. So now we have the font that the project suggests us. Let's shrink the size of these letters a little bit. So let's put, I don't know, for example, font size, let's set to 22 pixels, for example. Now it's a little smaller. I think it's too small, or it's good. Oh, it's good. Okay, but now since we made our text a little smaller, it's too close to the image. Since we can see here, it's too close. So let's add a paragraph. Okay, so let's add margin top. Oops, wait. Let me put margin top. Let's say 40 pixels. I think it will be too much. Oh, it's good. 40 pixels. It's kind of good. I'm gonna put 35 just for a good measure. Okay, 35. Now it's better. Okay. So let's go to the next text, which is the first paragraph, where we have this explanation. So the same thing, since we already have our title, let's say to create an H2 for the first paragraph, the first and only paragraph. So for the H2, let's just copy this text. Okay, you can, if you don't erase the last div that already comes with the project, you can just copy and paste in here. Since I erased, I'm gonna copy the text real quick, be right back. Okay, I just finished writing the paragraph in here. You can now listen to millions of songs, audiobooks, and podcasts on any device, anywhere you like. If you come back to our project, now we have the text here, but again, it's not centralized. We don't have like that margin on the left and on the right. Okay, so let's start to build this. The same way we did with the H1, let's do with H2. I'm gonna do paragraph. Okay, so let's say we first use the same font family. We just gonna have to change the style of the font, but you can do this Next, let's set a font size to, I don't know, if we used 22 in here, we can use, I think, 16 or 14 maybe. Let's put 16. Let's refresh, and of course we have to attribute the class in the H2. Let's refresh again. Now we have something like this. It's going pretty well. Let's align now. Okay, so text, align, center. Now we're supposed to have the text in the center, and now let's increase the margin on the left and on the right side of our H2. So we can do margin left, let's say 40 pixels. Oops, 40 pixels. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's too small. Yeah, it's too small. Let's say 50 pixels. And also for margin right, 50 pixels as well. Now we have like some good margin, but we have 4 lines, right? We're supposed to have just 3. It will be better for the sake of these other elements fitting to the same way with the same paragraph between them. So let's, I don't know, just decrease the font size. Now it's better. We have three lines, a good margin on the left and on the right, and a lot of space for working with the other elements of our card. We can see here that the margin of the title and the image is bigger than the margin of the title and the first paragraph, and we have the same way in here, okay, in our project. Now we just have to change the font weight of our paragraph. It's not like it's supposed to be, so let's add here in the class font weight. Okay, let's say 300 and that's it. Let's see. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. Let's see, for example, 500. Yeah, it doesn't change very much. These values you can find on Google Fonts. When you download the font, you have like a specific value, so the font weight can locate what type of font you are looking for. So in this case, it's probably the theme style of this font, the Red Hat display font. Okay, but it's pretty nice. It's not like very alike, but I think it's pretty similar. So let's keep going to this next rectangle in the middle and inside of our main rectangle. For this rectangle right here, which we have the annual plan, the value, and this type of stuff, we can just copy the same rectangle, the main rectangle class, okay, but of course keep it inside of our main div. So let's create another div, okay, in here, and let's copy this class, okay, let's create another class, actually, let's say inside rectangle, okay, can be like this. So let's copy the properties, let's paste in here and make it a little bit smaller, okay? So height, let's say 200, I think 100 actually, and width, let's just reduce a little bit because we just have to shrink a little bit from this left and right margin, okay? Now let's attribute this class to our div, to our new div. Let's refresh. Okay, I didn't change the color. I have to change the color. Let's see. Okay, so I just changed the color here because it was like white on white, so it wasn't appearing. Changed the color, and now we just have to centralize this. How can we do this? You can do the same way we centralized the main rectangle. We can use this display class that we created, but we have to use this display on a div outside of our div, which is the rectangle. So let's create outside of here another div, just so we can use the justify content and align items, the display flex. So here let's put the class display that we used before with the main rectangle, and inside of the display we have, of course, the div with the rectangle. So now it should centralize. Yeah, so it's centralized. Now we just have to change the characteristics of the rectangle so it fits a little bit better what it's being proposed in here. So let's increase first the top margin, can be, okay. So inside rectangle, let's say margin top, let's say to 15 pixels. Let's see, yeah, a little bit less. 10, I think it's okay, but I don't think it's the same thing as the title and the first paragraph. Now I think it's better. Let's increase a little bit of the width because it's too far away from the borders. Now I think it's a little better. No, just a little less actually. Yeah, now I think it's better. And last but not least, we have to change the opacity, which we can change right here on the color itself, okay? Let's save. Okay, I think it's good. I think I can decrease a little bit more and save. I'm just going to reduce a little bit of the height as well for 80. Yeah, I think 80, it's a good value. I think a little bit less. And I'm going to increase a little bit more of the width so it passes a little bit more of this margin of the first paragraph. Now I think it's very balanced, and we have plenty of space for the last two buttons that we have to put in our card. So now let's create the elements that are inside of this rectangle. So we're just going to keep for now this div as our main div, just so we can put our things inside of this rectangle. So let's use this div right here. Inside of this div, we can create another div. We will have to import this vector image, okay? So the same way we did before. Let's use image, source equals to. Let's search for the image. I think it is this icon music. Let's copy the relative path, paste in here. Let's give an out of music. Yeah, it can be music. And now let's see. Now we have this music icon right here. So now we have to give the same margin on top, on the left, and on the bottom. So it's centralized vertically and a little far away from this margin right here on the left. We can apply these margins by using another class. Okay, so we can create, I don't know, here I can create hero music image class, music image, and then let's just adjust the margins so we have the icon where we want. So let's put a margin top first of, I don't know, can be 15 pixels, for example. Relate this class to the div, of course, right? Let's refresh. Now we use it too much. Let's use 10 pixels. Now I think it's kind of in the middle. Let's use 12. I think 11 is the perfect number for us. Let's use. And now I think it's pretty much in the middle, right? Now let's set the left margin. So we just do the same way, margin left, and let's say 11 pixels as well. Now we have the same margin on top, bottom, and on the left. We can see here that the left margin is a little bigger, okay? So I'm going to increase this a little bit so it's not too much to the left. Let's say 20. Now I think it's a little bit better. Now remember that when you have all the elements inside of the rectangle, you can adjust this pretty easily when you use classes. Okay? So we don't have to mind a lot for the position of this icon for now. Let's put the other elements, which is annual plan and the price for the plan a year. So annual plan, I'm going to just open a div here and write what I want, which is annual plan. Okay, you have a lot of ways to do different stuff and assign the style you want for different things. It's in the wrong position. We are going to put to the right position the same way we did with this music icon, which is using the margins. Now let's first change the font of the text, which will be the same size of this font, but the style of this one, the weight of this one. So let's find here the first font style that we used. And let's just create another class. I can call this maybe annual font, and now annual font. And now let's copy and paste these things, and we just take out the things that we don't want. For example, the margins, we don't want this, we don't need this yet. Font size can be the same, just font weight that I'm going to put, let's say 700. Now let's give the class to our div in here, and now let's refresh. Now we have the font that we want according to the example. Wow, so now we have to put in place this annual plan, but let's pretend we have a different scenario here where we don't put two divs, one div for the display function to centralize the things and one div to creating the rectangle. Let's suppose we have one div for the display style, which will have the justify content and align items, and in the same div we have the rectangle. So let's say we have the class rectangle inside together with the display. We won't need this div anymore, this div right here, and now this other part is going to be inside of this div right here. So let's pretend we have this form. It's a simple form. We just removed one of the divs that were separating our page. We save. We can see that our annual plan, our icon are out of place, but they are centralized. But our rectangle is not centralized. For this, we can go to our inside rectangle and change the margins. We can see that the margin left has to be changed. So we can do, for example, margin left, and let's say 25 pixels, okay? Let's refresh. It's not enough. Let's say 35. It's pretty good. It's actually right in the middle. Now we can do some more margin up in here. So the paragraph is kind of the same from the title and the first paragraph. So now we have, yes, now we have like the same space between the elements. Okay, 21. Yeah, there it is. Now we have to reposition the icon. It's just simple as this. Just go to the music image and change the margin left. If you guys don't know, you can use negative numbers here. You don't have to necessarily use the margin right and use a huge amount of pixels to put the icon to the left. You can just use like less 100, for example, and then you can see that it comes back, let's say 110. And now we just have to fix, let's say 130 actually. No, I'm lost in the, in the negative numbers. Negative 90. And margin top, let's say it has to be a little less, let's say 6 pixels. Now it's centralized. Okay, now the annual plan, we have to put the same space in between in comparison to the icon for the annual plan and the price. So now we can just create another class here, for example, annual position, and then we can change these things. Let's just put the class right in our div right here and just change the margin. So let's give some margin left first. Okay, let's give, I think, 10 pixels. Yeah, it's like pretty decent, the distance. Let's give some margin top. Let's remove actually some margin from the top. Let's say 5 pixels. Don't know. No, 5 pixels is almost to the center. Let's say less, -7. No, -10. That's better. I think -12 will be perfect. Okay, for putting both of the texts here. -15. Yeah, it's better. Now we just have to write the other part, which is the price, $59.99 per year. So let's create another div in here, div, and let's put the price $59.99 per year. Let's refresh. Probably our text is in white. So now if you save and refresh, we have here $59.99 a year. Okay, so just have to format this once again. So now let's do, for example, price position, following the same pattern. Let's do a margin top of, let's say, 10 pixels, I think, and let's attribute this style to this div, to the class, right? Okay, let's put a little bit more pixels. That's kind of good. Let's say 25 pixels. And margin left, let's say minus 200 pixels, for example. No, it's too much. Minus 100 pixels, minus 90 pixels, and that's almost there. 87. Yeah, it's very aligned. So we just have to pull this a little bit to the left, but if you see here in the site, we have kind of what we want. I'm just gonna pull the margin left of our music image a little bit to the right, and you can see everything follows along. I think I did too much in here. 110 negative. Now I just gotta pull this a little bit up. The annual position, so top, let's do -10. Let's do -20. And in here, let's do top 20. Let's see. Yeah, now it's pretty good. Now we just have to put the font style, which is the same font that we use, the same size and type of font that we use in the first paragraph. So if we come here and see, we have here the text, the paragraph align, which we can use the same way. We can use the same class to give the right font. There we have. We can see that we changed some things because the margin also changed because of this case here. But we can do like just copy and create another paragraph align 2, for example. Just take off the margins and the text align because we have already aligned everything, and just change here for text align 2. Let's save, refresh, and there we have it. The font that we want in the same style of the first paragraph. Now we just have to add the buttons, the change button and the 2 buttons for proceed to payment and cancel order. Okay, to finish this rectangle, we just have to do this change button. So let's open a other div here inside of our rectangle that we are working right now, and let's open a tab called button. Now we can just write what we want to show in the button, in this case change. If I save refresh, we can see here the icon, and you can see that every element that I used in this rectangle, when I add another element, depending on the position, the other elements that I used in the divs before, they change position too. In this, we can avoid this using position, but I will demonstrate for you very soon. But first, let's just create a style first for the button, right? We don't want a button with background or a border. In this case, we just have like this border, this kind of stroke around of the button. Okay, so let's just create right away the class. Let's call it button1, and then let's set the color. It can be, I'm gonna set basic white here, and then we're just gonna change for a lighter blue to kind of imitate this the one they want us to do. And let's set the border to 0. Let's close here our tab and let's refresh. Oh, first I have to simulate this class for button. Let's refresh. Now we have kind of the button that we want to build. Let's just put a darker green, I think, a darker blue, sorry. I think it will be more, yeah, it's better. It's matching a little bit more our image here and our music icon. But now, if I, in the same style, if I change the margin, so we want this button in here, right? So if I change here, let's say margin left, we will see that every other element of our page will interact together of our rectangle inside of our main div here, which is this gray rectangle. So if I save and refresh, here you can see that our change went more to the right, but the other things went more to the left. These things we can avoid by using position absolute. So if I come here to all the elements that I used and use position, wait, let me close here, position, absolute, I'm going to see that the first element, which is our music image, it's inside of our rectangle now. Something changed for better. Let's use the annual position, which is our first text. Okay, let's close here as always and paste here. When we refresh, we can see that the annual plan came to the middle. The price here, let's do the same thing. It came to the middle as well. Let's use with the button, which is the last element. And we have like outside of the box because we gave a lot of pixels of margin. But now if we set the position of all these elements to the right place, every other element that we use inside of this main div will continue in the same place, even if we add another image, another text, and this is pretty good, right? Because I did this way because you can do this way without using position, but it's very difficult because if you change something with a lot of pixels, the other things will go out of screen, go out of the place that you want. And this is pretty bad because you have to improvise and start working with the pixels and try until you get it right, okay? But when you have a lot of elements, it's almost impossible. But now we can start to rebuild and repositioning these things. Okay, so let's say minus 40, let's say minus 110. So now we can start repositioning the things. So let's say here minus 150, a little bit more, 170. There we go. I think 180. Now that's better. Let's set the annual position. The annual plan position. Okay, let's set to 0. No, we are going to work with minus 30 will be just to keep in mind. Let's do minus 20. And here in the price position, I'm going to try minus 20 as well. It's not aligned, so let's try minus 17 actually. Let's try minus 14. Actually, let's increase this, right? 0. Oh, let's try minus 30. Okay, it's almost there. Let's try minus 35. We passed a little bit. Let's try minus 32. Yeah, it's pretty aligned. Now the last thing, the button. Okay, margin left. We used too much that time, so let's do 80. A little bit less to match the border of our music icon. A little bit more, 60. I think 67 will do. Yeah, it's pretty seamless. Now let's add a margin top as well, and let's do 0 pixels. I think. Let's see. No, it didn't change anything. Let's do -10. -10 is too much. Let's do -8. Okay, so now it's in the center. So now we can see our rectangle here in the center is pretty much done. So we just put the items and the elements in the same position. Centralized, gave the same margin. I think the margin from the button, I think I can, yeah, now I think it's more correct. So it's pretty good. It's going pretty well. Now let's work with the last things that are the last buttons. We already worked with this button. It's almost the same thing, except we will have a background color and a border. So let's work with it. Now let's build our last buttons to finish our card. We can now create another div for the buttons outside of that main div that we were using that represents this rectangle. Can get out of this div, and let's create another div, a button tag. And now let's set our button for proceed to payment, just like we can see in the example. Proceed to payment, if we refresh, we can see that the buttons here, we just have to give some style. We can copy the style of this rectangle since it's the same size. You can see here's the same size for this rectangle and this button. So we can copy and just change the details after. So let's just create here, I don't know, last button, can be last button. Let's just copy this, paste in here, last button. Let's keep here as a class. Last button. Okay, so now we have like kind of a button with the same size, with a border and everything else. And now we just have to format this. So the width we want the same, just the height that we want to maybe 20, a little bit more, maybe 30, a little bit more, maybe 40. Yeah, I think that's good. Margin top, let's reduce this a little bit. Let's keep it to 10. But actually it's the same margin of the first paragraph, right? So let's increase actually this paragraph. Now it's pretty similar. And now let's change some things here. I'm going to take off a little bit of this border radius, so it's not so curved like it's in the other elements. Let's change the color to the same blue, kind of a dark blue, right about here. Save. Now we have this. The font should be in white, so we can add here color, and let's add a white. That's it. Let's see, it's good. Now the font is the same font that we used in annual plan. Annual plan, if we see here, it's this annual font, okay, which we can use in here as well. Annual font. It's the same font now, the same size and the same font. Let's take off this border. It's kind of bothering me. I think it's not so nice, you know. So right here, background color. Actually, let's add, right, border equals to 0. Let's close in here. Now we have just the button itself free to go. Now to finish, we just have to make the final button, which is cancel order, which we can copy actually this button of payment, but just take off the background and change the color of the text. So let's just create another div in here, another button tag, and let's write cancel order. If we refresh, here's the button. We can use the same class that we used in the button of payment. It will be the same style, but we don't want the same style, right? So you can change here in the last button, because in the font we want the same font, just the button that we want to change. So let's see here. So here, last button, let's create another class. Let's call last button 2, and let's just copy and paste the same characteristics and just change some things. Let's set the background color to transparent. Border radius we can keep. The color of white we are going to change to this dark color, so it will appear in this white background. Now let's save and put in here last button 2. Let's refresh. Here we have just the text, okay? We don't have the background itself. We just have now to change the margin. So here in margin top we can set to 0 maybe. To close, let's set to margin top 5, for example. I think it's good. Maybe if we just remove a little bit of this paragraph, I think it will be better. but you can change things in your own way, or just since our last button don't have a background, you can keep it closer to this first button. So let's use margin top 0. Now we have like compensate this paragraph in here. But you can organize and keep the elements with the size you want, with the paragraph you want, distribute them in a way that you feel it's better and clean. So yeah, guys, that's it. I can like put a little bit of margin in the top here, but I think the button will be too close to the bottom. Okay, so you just keep the last button closer to the payment button, so the paragraph compensates a little bit. I could actually bring everything a little bit up to the top, so the same amount of pixels that we have in this bottom margin we have in this top margin, but I would have to change all the styles of all of my elements, and that's not kind of the main purpose. It's just for you guys to understand how you can relate the HTML with the CSS and how you can achieve some styles that you want. That's it. Okay guys, here's our final product. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please send here in the comments. Okay, subscribe. It will help us very much by doing this. And I see you guys in the next video with other projects and other things and other cards to do.
Are you interested in learning how to code? If so, it's important to know where you're starting from. Taking a prognostic quiz can help you get a sense of your current skill level and give you a starting point for your journey. Check out our free quiz at the description at the end of the video and get your personalized study plan.